Right, okay, I'm going to go over how I edited this, but I'm going to voice it over and just kind of explain everything. We begin with just a black stock picture, which is found on my CapCut library. It's just a free black video that just it's good just for like placement footage. And I had that fading from black, so it keeps a dark setting. So the way I filmed this was I had a dark room and I had halogen lights. Well, I had a halogen light and it was set up pretty well. But the only issue was I forgot to turn the automatic off on my camcorder that I was using. So it kind of ruined the effect I was going for the room. So you see I've got loads of compound clips here, and basically what I've done here is, um, well, it's the full video that I initially had, but it's only got a certain bit that I actually needed, and it shows you how we filmed it. So I had them clap whenever they talked because they had DJI mics clipped onto them, and I needed to sync it up with the audio, or with the video even, because the camcorder audio wasn't the greatest. So what we've done here is, I'll just play it to show you.
Yo, Madam Solana, how's it going?
Greetings, Dante. Thank you.
See, right, I kind of put it up a bit and stuff, but you get the point with the clapping. So also, another thing I did was an adjustment layer. I believe this adjustment layer so I did this to color correct the automatic camera that I was talking about. So I just kind of, corrected what I wanted the color to look like. And there's also a vignette on there, along with a few other adjustments to kind of re-achieve the look that I did film it in. But the automatic camera ruined it, so that's my solution to fixing that. I also have the soundtrack here from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's from Stardust Crusaders, and it's Fireman Shaman, which is a fortune teller character's theme song. So I thought it was pretty appropriate for the scene, given we have a fortune teller here. And see, we just kind of have. There's not really too much editing in this bit. I know they're all compounds, but that's just all audio correction as I showed, and I've got my adjustment layers. And then it gets to this bit here. This is when there's a bit more editing. So you'll see the music cuts off here. And then there's an Undertale soundtrack called Don't Give Up. And this is when the fortune teller's telling about her prophecy and the vision she had about the main character. So I have it do a smoke transition because I wanted to make a visual myself here. So I used a fire VFX I have and just used it as the source kind of thing. I have a rainbow haze effect here and a colour diamond. Colour diamond is you see these gems here? See if I mess with it, they change. I don't really need to. It doesn't really matter if I mess with this. But so we have a edge glow here, which just kind of makes the edges more glowy and blurry, kind of like the rainbow effect I have on, not the rainbow, the colour diamond. They're kind of similar and they blend quite well. So I've got both of them going on, and I've got a rebound swing, which is meant to kind of make it swing a bit, but you can't really tell. The rainbow haze is what's making it kind of all flickery and colourful. That's why it's kind of a bit buggy with the frames. That's not actually my computer being slow. And then we've got colour diamond once again, just because I wanted to double the effect. And then you've got the music, obviously, and I've also got the voiceover of the fortune teller talking. And then we have a transition that flashes to white and goes back to the fortune teller, and the music, I made it fade out here. If I click on this, we've got basic volume, and what I've done is I've just keyframed the audio to just go silent at the end, and then I've done the same so the audio picks up here from silence to playing the same song again, but it was playing before the other one. When Dante thinks to himself here,
oh, now this is exciting. I think I have some proper serious info for me.
So with that, all I really did here was use a CapCut voice effect but that'll be in the compound clip, I believe. Yeah, so this is the sound file, and it's got a voice echo effect on it, and then I just used the basic sound fade out thing for this bit, but that's just so it sounds like it's thought to kind of like, it sounds weird if I don't do that. And then go back to the end again, what I was pretty much just talking about. I've got, I slowed down the footsteps. I believe they're actually just echo sounding actually. And then, so you hear him walk, it fades to black with a fade to black transition once again. And then on this, he says, "See it, oh so great oracle," as a reference to what he said beforehand. So what we've done here is, once again, we've keyframed the audio so it kind of pans out as he walks away. And I also have a echo voice effect on that. And then we have the fortune teller sign here, but I did nothing to that. It was more just Dante walking away. So that is that section. The kind of first bit after the opening scene, and it's Dante surveilling Blade after he was like kind of tipped off about him there's gonna be someone with red hair who's gonna awaken soon, and so Dante is surveilling, and I put some music over this, a Stardust Crusaders track again, and it's just kind of ominous and creepy, as you can see here. And I added some mix transitions, just to kind of show the passage of time a little bit, so it feels a bit more like, he's been surveilling them longer, but it's not just like, these past few minutes. As you can see, you're kind of everywhere. So, I think it works. So we've got lots of mix transitions in here. And then we have the music fade here. And then, it gets to the bit where he goes to the alleyway. And this is kind of where things get a bit more interesting. So you can't see it because my computer is trying to fly away right now, because my laptop's not very good. You see, I've sped it up, and it's the mugger slamming Blade into the wall, and then it kind of flashes white into like the POV of the mugger shouting at him, "Empty your pocket, sunshine." And then we've got a compound clip here. This is where things get a little bit crazy, because we have a blur effect near. We've got a lightning effect that affects Aaron's eyes, but it doesn't really do its job too well. And we also have, so I'll show you this is the compound for the first lightning, I believe, yes. So I used the lightning flicker effect, and I added an adjustment layer. Well, no, I did adjustments default here and saved, I went to adjust, and then after I did all the things myself, like curves, I made it blue and red, purple, and I changed the saturation and the basic to get this, and I did tint and saturation and this stuff as well. I then pressed save as preset, which then allowed me to save the colour preset for my thing here. I've got quite a few, but I believe it's that one there. Actually, no, it is this one. And I keyframe the lightning to track Dante's hands, he cracks his knuckles, and I also did impact frames here. I'll go over them in a second. So yeah, he comes in with a punch, and they're just keyframed onto him, and that is the compound clip, but I just saved the adjustment, obviously. This is the one I saved the adjustment of. And, for the impact frames, I used a site called Photomosh, and it kind of just lets you add randomize effects onto photos. You can choose them, but randomizing can be quite good because you can get some really good ones. We're going to do a quick demonstration of Photomosh. Well, it's Mosh Light actually. Right, we'll just use the poster here as an example. See, you can just do stuff like this. It actually does animate, but I was just doing pictures of it. I wasn't using GIFs or anything. I was just randomizing it or messing with the settings, as you can see here.
You can do some pretty cool stuff with this though, as you can see.
And yeah, so I just kind of mess with colours and stuff, and then because it's like this adjustment layer here has blurriness, no, not blurriness, a bit of saturation, exposure, contrast, just to make it a bit more like kind of surreal. And I have it keyframe actually, so we'll go to the end of that once we get through it. It then goes to Blade Awakening, where it's still blurry. I was kind of trying to go for a very disorientated effect, so they're kind of being double images actually works quite well in that case. And I've got a fire effect here, which I adjusted again. I believe I just did curves for that. Yeah, I made it pretty red. That red specifically, and I saved an adjustment for it. Added some fire sound effects. There's also action sound effect there for the punch of Dante. And the fire just kind of sits there because it was a background piece I did. So what I've done is here I've cut myself out with the auto cut out. Later on I also did just cut it out manually, but this is auto cut out, and then I put the fire underneath my cutout, so it goes over the background but also acts as a background in a sense. And I did the same with the torch here. There's sound effects over this, and then it cuts to him kind of waking up, and the adjustment layer here is the effects turning off, and there's also a the adjustment layer has keyframe, so it kind of turns off. Same with the blur, you see here, it's just turned off. And yeah, so that's that little bit there. And we go over here, we just kind of muted the audio here because it was quite windy and I wasn't able to use the mics effectively here because I had to swap to my phone, and these weren't the DJI mics anymore, these were
Rode Wireless Go 1 Lavalier mics.
And that was hooked up to the camera, which died, so I was using my phone for this. And you can hear the wind and stuff, which isn't ideal, but I muted it, that's why. There's a bit of dialogue here, but there's not really much there. Here, I sped it up so he kind of goes into his position fast, actually, I believe. I just sped it up a little bit here. And then I did more impact frames and then added the fire, which was just a compound clip of, is this, no, so, yeah, there's bits of fire all over me, there's also a little bit behind me. Yeah, so this bit here is the piece behind his leg. And that has the adjustment layer and the compound clip. And then the ones on top of the other bits of fire that are on his outside. It then goes to, there's also a zipper lighter sound effect and an explosion. You can't hear it very well. But yeah, I had more sound effects. Then it's impact frames, and then there's more lightning like I did beforehand, and the action lines, which are just once again cutouts of Blade and Dante, and we've got the action lines underneath along with their effects, which is just another case of the lightning with a compound clip, and I believe colour dodge as well, yeah, to make the background transparent. And then we have Blade going for a punch, which is just keyframe fire, and then impact frames of the fire, where it then turns off because it turns purple to symbolise Dante's power activating and stealing it. And then his electricity comes out again. And then he's got him grabbed and he twists him, like twists his arm, and then throws him into the wall. and then he gets punched in the stomach with like a kind of sparky attack, which is just like the electricity, but I used a sparkly effect that I have and keyframed it. And the adjustment layer is the purple one I use for the lightning. And then that's that for the bit on my laptop. So we'll now move to my PC. It starts off with this, the fortune teller bit. I added this from my laptop, and then I added a mix transition for this bit because that's what we were using. And then we're at the bit I was just on about, but I added a bit more effects now. So there's if we open the timeline a bit, what we have is I added a red thing as well, a red adjustment layer, and the vignette also went red because of this. That's just an adjustment layer. I added some sound effects, being like anime punch, a soundtrack from Jujutsu Kaisen for the rage bit. I added a tinnitus ringing as well. This is a sound effect from Fire Force. And then so this is the music over it, obviously. That wasn't on the other version. And I added a clapping sound effect for this. And then this is just the bit that we were at. But I added another sound effect here. Because I think some of my sound effects actually got replaced here. Yeah. So this is the sequence, and then there's a transition. I did smoke just because he ignites, and it made it a bit more fluent, I guess, or fluid. I don't know. It just made it a bit more natural because smoke and now there's fire. Yeah, so this is where it gets a bit messy. So we have loads of videos here and loads of sound effects. I'm gonna start ignoring the sound effects, to be honest, because there's a lot of them, like Tesla coils, fire whoosh, Tesla coils, yeah. So what I have here is remove background. I did a custom removal for this. So, like, you see here? Yeah, that's actually a cutout. That was so I could put fire in the background like I did last time. So there's fire here. That has an adjustment layer on it, I believe. Oh no, I did that one first. Yeah. We've got the... So he headbutts. And then he headbutts again. And then there's some impact frames. And then there's more impact frames. And then he takes over the... Oh, I think we've got a bit of adjustment layers glitching right here. This isn't good. This is what happened when I exported. It's an issue that happens with adjustment layers, I believe. Yeah, so I'll show you what my fix was now. So, oh wait, do I not have the... Yeah, so the way I fixed this was I just pop this back on and it would fix, because for some reason it was showing as fire then, but you can see now it's not fire because the adjustment layer, and it was just bugging out a bit. It's the same with the fire here, so that's look, we can just, to show that I did this, see there's, actually it might have been like one of these, but yeah, so I added, this was already keyframed. I keyframed some of them before I compounded it. That's why some of the compound clips have keyframes on them, in them, and some have them on them. I didn't really do it in any particular order because it got the job done either way. So this isn't going to look the way it should for some of it in the editor now because it gets a bit buggy.
and it's kind of put me off CapCut a bit, but you can see that's not meant to be fire, that's meant to be lightning, I believe. But yeah, my compounds kind of went all over the place. But yeah, so that's saying it's fire, but in reality, it's actually this. See? And now it's fixed. Okay, I just want to point out real quick, just for clarification's sake, in the final export, like on YouTube, you won't see the bugs because I fixed it all before I exported it initially, but it gets confused whenever I load up CapCut and there's so much going on, it does that, and I'd probably have to fix it like almost every time or every now and then, because it just like, yeah, it gets confused and replaces stuff. But in the final export, everything is correct. I just wanted to clarify that. Somewhat at least, because there's quite a few lightning things. But, so, for any of my VFX, I used adjustment layers to change the colours of the effects. So I could get red fire, purple lightning. And I used a lot of impact frames as well. For here we did finger guns, that's just more keyframing and fire effects, and then a spark, I believe, on the impact frame, and then there's a, oh, that's a muzzle flash that I turned red, and there's also smoke above his fingers. It's not very visible, but he has smoke, and then he does the same thing and counters it, and then his fire's purple. So I did, the purple adjustment layer instead. That's how we got. Same with the muzzle flash. Then I did just some random transition here. And I made him kind of... So in the compound, you'll see I used some special effects. Ripples and jittered ripples on a cutout of him. So he kind of looked all blurry and fast. And for the speed, we used a curve. So it starts normal and it rises and then drops down, and it makes them really fast pretty much. You see? And it's got just a bit of impact to it, and it's got speed to it. I was quite happy with that one. So that's literally just some special effects on this, like screen effects that are applied to just a cut out of him, and it did a really good job at it. I wanted a kind of flash step effect, and it worked. There's obviously more sound effects, and then speed here, a lot of it's speed. So he swerves around him, and then he goes for a kick, impact frame, he gets thrown on the wall. Then I did more curve speed here for the knuckle cracks, sound effects. Yeah. And then that was pretty fast, but you see it. And then this bit here, this is when it goes to the agent bit. Yeah, so what I did here was, if we turn the opacity off of this, you will see it's actually just a black screen, but it's not really, because we have a chroma key, which is a green screen if you didn't know. And that's how I made this appear. I'm not going to mess with that though. And there's also a bad TV effect, and I made it turn off because it was getting a bit messy. And then, if we go over to the next project. Okay, so this is kind of the second bit that I did. I had to swap it. This is when stuff started to break, and you saw an example of it beforehand. So, we have more fire, pretty basic, just keyframe and adjustment layers, as I said before. And we've got the impact frames, and sound effects.
But not only can I knit flames.
Oh, and also here we have a voiceover.
That's right! He thinks I just burn things. But not only can I knit flames, I control them!
So what I did there was a shake effect. And we just have more, like kind of, impact frames and visual effects I did. And more purple fire, and then he raises his hand and makes like a big fire in it. I added a shake effect. That's what that is. We got some more compounds and stuff, you know, for the fire. But he does that, and then I made it so after the impact frame it turns red and he kind of like falls back, and he has to dispel it. But then he gets punched and knocked back, and then I have it flash, and now this is kind of like that was a white, actually no, that was a mixed transition with a white stock footage like the black one I showed earlier on. And then now for this was actually somewhat tricky. So I did an impact frame with a Zippo effect for that, and basically we have a flame here which is just red and goes up to the mouth, but it's underneath a cutout. But it's not just any cutout, because it's a custom removal of my hand which covers the flame. And now we have a Roundabout by Yes playing the 2024 instrumental. And now we have Agent Aquan teleporting. So the way I did this was so I did the lightning effect I was using for Dante, but I just left it blue because that's what it looks like at its base. Actually no, I made it more blue. So we have a look at the adjustment layer, ground, and I just put the effects in front and behind him. I made them slightly transparent, I believe. Yeah, so I have it keyframe opacity. So if you watch the slider, see he comes in.
Stand ready.
And then I just make the colour go back to normal because I made him... Oh, I just made him very cool with the temp. And then I made it keyframe back to normal, I believe. That was on adjust temp. Yeah, so if you see this bit here, if you just watch it all, yeah, so it changes exposure, saturation and stuff.
Stand ready for my...
That's how I did that. And then it just kind of transitions the background there of a mix. It's not the greatest, but it kind of has the teleport
Stand ready
effect.
for my arrival, worms.
Well, if it isn't my old pal Dorian.
So we've just got, you know, a bit of dialogue. And then water sound effect. And for this, I used water effects. I had a shake effect, special effects. So I had it come up and freeze, and I had a gentle ripple effect. So that's why it's moving. It's not. That's actually a still frozen bit of the effect. And yeah, so that comes in, it wobbles, and then it unfreezes and sends towards, and then I've got another compound here of just water rushing and adjustment layer to make it blue, and that's the same with the other bit. And that's how he shoots the water. And then for the to be continued bit, I keyframed to be continued in. And for the freeze, if you look in the adjustments, temperature just goes very yellow and low saturated. And then we just use a black transition, and this was just some default stock footage on CapCut. And then I just, for that, there's text which I keyframed, so I wrote on it and it just keyframes through it all, going up and down. And that is how I edited this.